Are you struggling to improve? Have you hit a wall that you cannot climb? Do you want to understand what great artists do? I believe that observing is the key to improving. In this video, you're going to learn 3 intuitive ways to train your observation. The way in which we see the world changes entirely when we learn to observe. We've likely all forgotten our headphones and had to walk to the store in nothing but the silence of our own brains. Suddenly we're surrounded by senses that audio and stimulation have drowned out for us. Observation is an art in its own right. It teaches us to love these moments when we forget our headphones and we walk out in the rain. We start to observe how the air smells, how the light reflects, or how peaceful the falling raindrops sound. We become aware of things that had previously entirely frustrated us, things we have just overlooked. In art, observation holds a key part in both learning and creating. The 3 intuitive exercises to improve our observational skills that we will go over in this video will teach us that the time you spend drawing is not always as vital as the time you spend thinking. Slow it down. Observation picks apart the thing that you are drawing. It installs into your mind the brushstrokes that you need to progress with the piece, thus increasing your accuracy and, more importantly, your intent. Over time, observation will become natural, creating the effect of decreasing your cognitive load, freeing up space to be creative. Exercise 1. Seeing does not equal looking. When we see something, it is in passing, it is fleeting. When we look at something, it stays with us for a little longer. In this small window of opportunity, if you allow it, your mind may wander into thought. Grab a pen and paper. I prefer this to digital. Find something mundane on your desk. Take your time to really look at it. Notice the shapes, the color, the light. Begin to write about all these. Doing this with something seemingly dull is how we find true beauty. Everything has design to it. Everything can be creative. Simply writing can be tricky. It can be hard to find the right things to talk about. This exercise is all about scrolling down your note onto the page. Be messy, be chaotic. Let your words fall out and carve their way onto the page. I'm inspired by morning pages, a concept in a book, The Artist's Way, by Julia Cameron. An approach to journaling in which you scroll down your mind's automatic thoughts and fill pages as the first thing you do in the morning. It's excellent in general, but especially excellent here. This will train you to cycle through useful and useless thoughts in observation, leading us to the second exercise. I used to have a 3-step system to improvement. It started with volume, doing a lot of a thing. For example, drawing heads over and over. Next, I write down short notes about what I have seen. The third and final step was imaginative drawing. In all this trial and error of making learning art more efficient and fun, I found that the second and third steps had the best results. I learned that there is intense value in observation. To do this exercise, you only need 3 easy things: a timer, a place to write, I used Notion, and a reference. Playing on the similar concept as the first exercise, we will set a time limit for observing and for drawing. I recommend seeing what you can write down in different time settings. Try 15 minutes first, then 10, then 5 minutes. I have even sat for 30 minutes just looking at the reference and observing it. It's important to note down interesting shapes that you see, interesting relationships between features of subject matter. If you are looking at a photograph, you can notice the focal points in the image. If you are looking at a reference in real life, you can also do this, but maybe ask yourself more of, where would I put the focal points? If you are looking at another artist's work, ask yourself, what have they hidden? What have they brought attention to? I encourage you to do this in your own work too. A useful piece of advice: the more you do this, the more you can develop a system of useful questions to ask, useful things to observe. As I've stated, I like to look at the lighting, the interesting shapes. I like to explore thoughts on where I can add interesting information. How can I draw the viewer around a piece based on this reference? The third exercise is something I talk about in my last 2 videos, but it really is an incredible way to teach yourself to draw from imagination. I really liked the way a streamer artist, Pcat, put it, that it really is not from imagination, but it is from memory. It's such a brilliant way of describing it. Here, we will improve our memory. We will load information about our reference into our minds and not only be able to call upon it now, but in the future when a design requires it. This is a concept called active recall. There are two helpful approaches to this method. 1. While looking at the reference, using your system of questions that we developed in the last exercise, write down the most important aspects that you have observed. Close the reference, begin drawing following the notes, taking time to think and observe your own work to see if it feels right. Intuition can be powerful. 2. Observe the reference. Don't write anything down yet. Go over your main points using your system of questions. Now we close the reference. We write down everything we can remember. Begin painting. Observation is a powerful tool. Learning to utilize it will bring your artistic growth to entirely new heights. Mastering it will allow you to use feedback, another vital skill to empower your artistic abilities. If you're ready to move forward, you can learn about self-critique in my last video here.